Hey, greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Hey folks, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here at Watchtower Firearms. This is the custom design AR-15 that was just made for me. It's got my Steadfast and Loyal logo there. On this side, you can see my signature, my master parachutist wings, of course, American flag. And I just want to tell you that you can't be a great American unless you have a great American weapon. And that's exactly what Watchtower Firearms is building. Great American weapons, all American parts, manufactured right here in the great state of Texas. And oh, by the way, let me see, where is the serial number on this one? TX1836. If you're from Texas, I think you know what that means. God bless you. God bless Watchtower.
Hey, dead center. Yes.
Hey, greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal program. You know, everyone is focused on what's happening between Israel and Hamas there in the Gaza Strip. But without a doubt, we need to be concerned about the loss, the purposeful loss of operational control of our own border. And I can't think of anybody better, really, to talk about day to day what he's seen down there in that border, and a person that lives down in that area, Del Rio area, Eagle Pass, Kinney County, which is right there, hot spot area. And that is my dear friend, Sergeant First Class Walter West II, United States Army, retired. We're not related, but we act like we're related in many different ways. But Walter West is a former fire, police, and paramedic and hazmat technician since 1990, and a specialist in human trafficking and critical infrastructure and security management. He was the chief of legislative counsel and government affairs and safety consultant for Veteran HSSE LLC, and he is a former member of the Republican Party of Texas State Republican Executive Committee and is Sergeant of Arms. And so I want to welcome my dear friend Walter West to the Steadfast and Loyal program. How you doing, Walter?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good.
Now you're all over the place down there. Have you like stopped at someplace at home, or where are you right now?
So yeah, right now I'm in my Del Rio home. I've got a
Okay.
couple since I've got a couple 100 mile spread through here between basically from Lajitas to Laredo is my sector. So we do a lot of work on the border with the one of the contracts I've got. On the flip side of that, we there's a lot of consulting I do with different sheriffs and different municipalities throughout the area.
What is the greatest concern? What is the greatest thing that you can share with all of your travels and living down there along that border with the audience here at the Steadfast and Loyal program?
Well, the honestly, the biggest concern is just the numbers of military-aged men that are coming in. They're obviously the teenage. They're fit. They're getting in every. You'll see about 15 men to every one woman and child combination. Sometimes they loop a couple women, couple kids together. But at the same time, I mean, this is the most ridiculous I've seen it. 2 to 4 to 6,000 people a day coming in, just down between Eagle Pass alone, and that's keep in mind that's with one of the bridges closed. The Biden administration has closed one of those bridges. The state of Texas has got its wire up, the concertina wire, and yet the Border Patrol keeps cutting the wire to let folks in when they've got operational control of the bridge. Eagle Pass is losing money because people aren't paying the toll coming across. and with that, especially with the one bridge that the Biden administration has shut down.
Now, the interesting thing you just brought up, so Eagle Pass is losing money because people aren't paying the toll to come across from Mexico into Eagle Pass, sits right there on the Rio Grande River. But yet the resources of Eagle Pass are being tapped into because of these, thousands a day, as you just said, 4 to 6 thousand a day who are coming in and draining their emergency management resources, things of that nature. How does that balance out?
It doesn't. So everything people throughout America don't realize this is all being footed. This is being footed on the bill of the local taxpayer.
Yeah.
Whenever the people, we were griping about the buses with Abbott, and we saw the buses were working, things like that. That's all a big farce. Abbott is only transporting less than 5% of what's come across out of Texas. The Biden administration is the one filling up the Democrat cities, but yet nobody wants to say that. Abbott looks like he's the strong dog to his base. The Democrats get to blame Abbott for it without saying, hey, it's actually Joe Biden. It is the Joe Biden administration. The numbers from CBP for DHS and the numbers for the Texas Department of Public Safety, they both jive. We've shipped out 37,000 people out of Texas that Texas taxpayers have paid for. The other million, that's all Joe Biden. You could do the math yourself.
So either the local municipality taxpayer is getting screwed, the overall Texas taxpayer is getting screwed, and the American taxpayers are getting screwed. And in essence, what we're doing is we're bringing in all of these single military age males. So basically, we're purposefully and intentionally setting ourselves up for what we just saw happen over there in Israel.
And just remember this: yesterday we had an Iranian national come right
Yes.
across there to Eagle Pass.
Yeah, I heard. I mean, actually, there's been a report of 4, and then also 2 Lebanese nationals coming across. What is it that for whatever reason we have surrendered operational control of our border, being it the federal government, being the state government, and the local level government? They're just overtaxed. I mean, going down to Kinney County, which sits in between Del Rio and Eagle Pass, you can see that. What is there to gain from individuals completely, abdicating their constitutional duty and responsibility to protect the sovereignty of this state and this nation?
That's been my number one problem. Just recently, matter of fact, a week and a half ago, I went down. Well, 3 weeks ago, I filed a criminal complaint. A week and a half ago, I sent it up to the Attorney General's office. And the criminal complaint is on the 2 supervisory agents in Eagle Pass that are seen when Greg Abbott tweeted out the video of them cutting the wire and pulling it away. That's actually a violation of, and you're going to love this one, of the communism, sabotage and sedition laws that were brought into effect back in 1995. It was actually legislation written by Democrats, and it's under Chapter 557 of the Texas Government Code. Specifically in the criminal complaint that I filed with the Maverick County Sheriff's Department. I'm awaiting the body cam. I actually requested the deputy put a body cam on, so I wasn't being a jerk or anything. I didn't want to look like one of those guys that, I'm a sovereign citizen type thing, and always throws that up there. I was very professional. I let them know, hey, this is what's coming. But nobody has come forward and said, hey, we need to figure out what's happening. The governor declared an invasion under. There's a guy a couple of years ago that was running for office, and the first thing out of his mouth was Section 1, was Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the Constitution. And that's exactly what the governor has done. I guess it's taken him 9 or 10 years now to get it out there. But after we spent these billions of dollars, the governor actually alerted everybody to say, hey, this is an invasion. We're doing this. He made a declaration, threw it out there on his official websites, the whole bit. So I thought for sure that the national security would now be put above the migration issue. And the migration issue should never be trumped by national security. And that's exactly what that law is for. If you go into the Texas government code, it specifically states that anybody damaging state property that is meant for national security is committing a felony. And we have those 2 agents. Actually, since then, it's just been that they've just been cutting wire left and right. And we're finding out that the Department of Public Safety sitting down here, they're doing nothing but collecting a paycheck. They're doing nothing but spending money in the hotels. They do get involved in the chases and whatnot. The Texas military members now, they have detoured people. They have said, "Hey, get back," but then the illegals just go right around them, and the
Yeah.
Border Patrol opens it up and lets them all in.
Now, it's a great thing. You just brought up our Texas National Guard members, and everyone understands that the governor of Texas is the commander of the Texas Military Department, and Article 4, Section 7 of the Texas State Constitution says one of the duties and responsibilities of the governor is to repel invasions. Do you see our Texas National Guard members with the right type of rules of engagement to say, nope, you're not coming in here into the state of Texas? Do they have the right type of equipment? Do they have the right type of training? Do they have the right type of orders? Do they have the right type of rules of engagement?
So, Alan, you remember July the 5th, that early that morning back in 2021, don't you?
Yeah,
We were down there together in Starr
yeah,
County,
yeah.
and
Right there on
there
the
was a
banks of the
60.
Rio Grande.
Yep, and that's actually very near the island that they just took over, the 130 acres that they just took over, and made a big deal about it and planted this very small Texas flag down there close to Fronton. But we had several people that were with us in that group, and there was a 68-year-old lady that a very dear friend of mine, and she was better armed and better protected than the three National Guard members that were down there with us while they were leading the people across the river
Hmm.
in boats. And on top of that, that was back during the COVID was still a big well-to-do in the state. The governor hadn't quite figured out what he was going to do. The federal side of the house, they didn't figure out what they were going to do. And we had people coming over hacking and coughing 10-week-old babies, 10-day-old babies, and watch them walk all the way up. And at that point in time, I believe those were Texas
They
National
were.
Guard members under Texas authority. And yeah, it was like another day for them. They were just babysitting. And at some point, I was very concerned on several different occasions since then with the National Guard members I come across because they're never kitted up. Well, now they are, but they weren't prepared at first to meet the bad guy if he were to come across. If the boogeyman were to come across, they were not ready to go through things that we went through overseas. And it was just kind of a sign of the times for me. We're seeing now. I actually think that Abbott accidentally got it right whenever he hired the former border agent Mike Banks as the Texas border czar. That guy right there has been poking the bear on these federal agents, and I'm waiting once we get something back on this. I'm waiting for a state trooper or a local sheriff to actually arrest a couple of the agents that are undoing the defense of the state, because the federal government has clearly ceded its role defending the nation, whereas the governor picked it up. And honestly, I think there's posturing, to be honest with you, and I think nobody wants to be the one to take up this mantle.
Let's talk about this very disturbing illegal immigrant sanctuary that's really come into the public light called Colony Ridge. What's your assessment and analysis of what is going on there, just a few miles northeast of Houston, Texas, which is third or fourth largest metropolitan area in the United States of America?
Charlie Foxtrot, and that's about the wildest I can put it. I've lived around. That's the area I actually grew up in.
Yeah.
That's 6 miles away from my original home. Been back there. That's been a problem for well over 20 plus years. Although the Colony Ridge stuff didn't take off until 2011, I believe, is what the Mr. Harris had stated on the Michael Berry show last week. It was kind of an eye-opening experience listening to him with his verbiage. If you look at that, being former firefighter in back in the 90s, I was a building official and fire marshal. So the fact that Liberty County itself has never brought itself up to the codes and standards of 2010, 2000, it's literally Uncle Goober still running the place.
Hmm.
And where they were against things coming in when they first came in 2016, within a year, the county judge, who now apparently is going to be outgoing county judge, he's not going to run again now that everyone's on the hot seat. You're seeing that the development that happened there just got way out of hand. There were no codes, no standards, no ordinances. You really have to look at the local politicians. The fact that that county grew by just the 75,000 people that are supposed to be there. They're saying possibly illegal aliens. We have legislation on law enforcement being able to deport. That right over there is one of the biggest mistakes that Texas has ever made, and it starts with the fact that on the county level they were not cognizant of what their responsibilities were. I mean, from the sheriff on down to on up to the judge to the county commissioners that were there at the time, and actually where that thing was originally started at, Plum Grove was a city that de-annexed themselves from all that. So you've got an area where this guy was able to come in and he was able to donate land for fire, police, EMS. The sheriff has yet to put a station out there, even though the land's been donated for years. The schools, they've got schools that are out there. There's all sort of tax abatements that have come about on that, and that's you've seen with Cleveland ISD has tripled their school size, and you know, you got to love those people. They won't pass a school bond, so they don't want to foot the bill. They're not going to foot the bill. And this literally is a quagmire. You see that the governor was a very big donation recipient from the developer out there. And the first time he gets to defend his friend, what does he do? He throws him under the bus. So that should tell you exactly what we're dealing with.
What is the resolution for it? Because to me, you've just created like a law enforcement no-go zone right here in the middle of Texas, and you know, it seems that the rule of law does not apply. And when you look at the millions of dollars that land developer did give to Governor Abbott and other members, being it congressional members or state house members, I mean, is this one of these things where, you know, what should be done is pushed aside because of campaign contributions?
Oh no, well, and which is the funniest part of it, because with Abbott being the largest donor, they had the 1.5 million, but I think there was even more than that over the years. He wants to investigate his donation. I mean, this literally should be something kicked up to the federal side to see if there was any improprieties.
Well, hopefully we will get to that. So as you continue to operate down there along the border, give us your top 2 or 3 points that you think would make a difference down there on the border with the experience and expertise you have. And then I want to talk about the human and sex trafficking crisis that we have here in Texas. So what are the top 1 to 3 things that you think we could do to rectify our situation down here to go? Understand, not from the federal government level, because the Biden administration is not going to do anything, but what can we do at the state level?
So actually, I think the state just needs to take it over, period. At this point in time, I don't care if you get another Republican governor, president in, or whatever. Once you've been screwed like this, the nation, there is no way you can return back to that. Oh, we're going to elect somebody, a Republican, that's going to secure the border. They've been trying to secure this border for how many decades now? And nobody's pointing out the fact that Barack Obama is the one who built the most amount of wall than all of the other presidents combined. So that's that right there is something that folks really need to take a look at. We have all this rhetoric. We're going to build a wall. We're going to do this. Well, look at how much the wall is costing us right now. It's they just announced it was going to be $23 million a mile 27 months ago. Now they're sitting at 10.08, and this is the Texas Facilities Commission out of their own mouths in their open meeting. They've done 10.08 miles for $900 million. Seems a little bit more than 23 million a mile. We're up in the 90s by then. They're going to close it up with 65 miles by 2025, Christmas of 2025, and they're going to spend $38 billion. We've already spent since 2010 close to $16 billion alone. We've had other avenues, other options out there. One of the options that I'm pushing is Earthlock. If you go to www.earthlock.com, no K, you'll be able to find that there's actually a solution that's built out of Deer Park, the LaPorte area, Texas. You know
Hmm.
where the San Jacinto Monument is because of
Yes.
the great victory we held. So this is a solution of Texans by Texans that the Trump administration approved until he was bounced out of office, and then all the contracts went nil.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, they sped up the people coming in. Right now, trying to recover where we're at, the I'd say the number one thing would be for Texans to come in and say, look, we need to physically close the border between the ports of entry and make sure everything that comes through down low does not come through at all. They need
Yeah.
to repel the invasion. Mexico let those people through their country.
Yeah.
Mexico needs to take care of those people, not us.
Because the whole thing about asylum, that is when you hit the first country of entry. It's not you go through 5 or 6 different countries and say, oh, this is where I want to be. Final thoughts here. This scourge of human and sex trafficking. How do we rectify this? How do we get to the bottom of this? Because right now the cartel making more money off of the human trafficking because of course you can use a human in sex trafficking. You can use a human over and over and over again instead of the drug side of the house. And how on top of that, how we know where these cartel leaders and members are living, in the open here in Texas. Can we finally go after them and go after their accounts and freeze their accounts so that they're not living this lucrative lifestyle?
This is something I've been discussing with several of the sheriffs for years now. We finally got it up to where we could get a grant from Operation Lone Star, and then they threw another wrench in the system. We could have gotten started on this stuff back in April, May, June sometime. But the bottom line is the Department of Public Safety doesn't have they don't have good human intel, and that's what they need. They need to be able to get into Mexico. We physically have Democrat Congress members calling for the U.S. Army to go down there and take care of the cartels. That's physically something that came off the Texas border. So when the Democrats are repeating what we've been saying for years, and you and I both know we've got special operators who can go down and do that. I don't know if I want to get us caught up in a lengthy war or not, but we could definitely assist the Mexican government, as corrupt as it is, to take out the proper people. At the end of the day, they use places like Colony Ridge, the national forest. If you go to Portland, Oregon, I've been up there on several operations. California, on into Texas, Houston is the sex trafficking hub capital of this hemisphere. And
Wow.
you got to think about how many people live in Mexico City and how much stuff gets actually reported in Houston with the ports, the rails, the buses, the airplanes. It's unreal the amount of transient traffic that moves through there. And to pick up a kid, to talk a kid into meeting with you online somewhere, the guys that run the internet computers against children programs, that's got to be the most heinous job. I mean, it's you have to be a special person to do that, because I read some of that stuff, and that those investigators have to perform in due diligence of the law. And I thank God I'm not a cop anymore, because I'll go straight back to the Iraq days where we kick in the door and we start hitting the bad guy with the bad stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it's going to take to get someone in the elected official realm to wake up and understand that they took an oath to a constitution, being a United States Constitution or a state constitution, and to protect the people and to restore the rule of law. Walter West, where can people follow you and all of your travels down along the border here of Texas? 1,249 miles that we share with a country that is really destabilized. And I don't think the Mexican government can be trusted. I don't think that this President Obrador wants to solve the situation. I think that he is very happy to see these transnational narco criminal terrorists have operational control over the borders. But how can we follow you?
So I'm actually on Twitter, which is starting to build. We're starting to do more Twitter spaces. It's at TX Bacon Nation. So, people know me as the Texas Bacon Master. It's been since my Afghanistan days, and somehow it came back to hit me in 2009. So it stuck. But I've got that, and I've got Bacon Nation on on Facebook, and you'll see a lot of my stuff out in West Texas. I get to go through some of the most beautiful backcountry you've ever seen, and unfortunately, every time I do, I run across a couple of illegal aliens that have to be apprehended. You got to wait 3 to 4 hours for a cop to get there.
And I think that we should talk more about West Texas than we are, because that's where the people that don't want to be apprehended, detained, noticed, or whatever, that's where they come through. Am I correct?
Yes. Oh, totally correct. And I know you're out there in Kenny County. I'm right next door. I see Brad about once a week, and 30 to 40% of his business of smugglers comes out of the Houston area. So people need to look at that. They need to look at how much is being requested. I'm on Facebook and on social media inside Mexico, and we're able to translate what's happening. And you would not believe what the UN, because the UN is working here in the United States. They are in Eagle Pass. I've got pictures of their vans driving up and down our highways, and they're facilitating this.
Yeah.
And anyone in our government that is working with those NGOs, those are traitors. That's sedition right there. Those are the charges that need to come about.
It is absolute sedition. And furthermore, I cannot understand how on social media, if you talk about facts and the COVID-19 shot, you will get kicked off of social media. But we're allowing cartels to coordinate human smuggling operations all along social media. Walter West, thank you so very much for being with us on the Steadfast and Loyal program. And watch your six down there, okay, my friend?
Cool. Gotcha, sir.
Well, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal program. Special thanks to my dear friend and maybe distant cousin, Walter West. If you enjoyed this program, please click the like button and share it with others. And until next time, steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.